Welcome back, everybody. It's Ken, and you're joining me for another episode of the No Money Real Estate Podcast, Coffee with Ken. We'll get into it right after this.
Hey, my name's Ken Dunn, and I'm a real estate investor. I want to welcome you to the No Money Real Estate Podcast. On this show, I'm going to interview elite level real estate investors from all over North America, and I'm going to help you to see one thing that all successful real estate investors have in common. They built their portfolios without using a dime of their own money. I've got a portfolio of $300 million in real estate. That includes resorts, apartment buildings, commercial buildings, and I built the entire portfolio without using a dime of my own money. Real estate is a business that anybody can get into, but the strategies that those tight real estate investors use to build massive portfolios have been kept secret for decades. Now, because of this show, I'm going to reveal them to you. So let's get started.
Hey, listen, I wanted to spend some time with everybody this morning, and I've got a really interesting topic that I want to share with everybody, kind of as a little bit of a background to why we built this massive YouTube channel and why all these videos are all over the map. Most important part of this is why I decided to become a real estate coach. And it's a really interesting topic. Listen, I've been an entrepreneur for more than 25 years. Prior to starting my first business, I spent time in investigative policing, about 15 years. I started when I was 17 years old in the military police. I quickly got into investigative policing and did things like undercover drug work and police investigations. I spent a couple years on a SWAT team. I've rounded out my career doing police interrogations and general crime investigations in the city of Ottawa. I left policing in 2001 because of a major change that happened in my life. My wife and I were expecting our first child, and I realized that I wanted to make more money. I wanted to be financially free. I wanted to have a setup so I could give my kids the best life humanly possible, and that's what led me down this road. Now, I only graduated from high school, but I had a significant amount of experience in law enforcement, so I really thought that with the right mentorship and the right guidance, I could make it work. As luck would have it, or happenstance would have it, my first business was a mortgage company, and with that company, I had an amazing mentor. I was mentored for 5 years by an individual who had built a $100 million insurance company and taught me everything he knew. He was the guy that got me into real estate investing. It was really funny how it happened. He offered me the job to partner with him as the owner and CEO of this new mortgage company. But he had a couple conditions. He said, first of all, I had to get my ass out of bed every morning at 5 a.m. and he was going to make sure I did because he wanted me to take full advantage of every single day. Then the second thing he said is once you get yourself straightened away and once you get all your debt cleaned up, I want you to invest all your free money into real estate. I want you to build a portfolio because that's what he had done. And he owned a massive portfolio. And a lot of the stuff that you're going to hear me talking about in all these videos, the advice that I give, the little colloquial terms that I use sometimes, all came from him. It was an amazing experience. Because of him, in my early 30s, I built a real estate portfolio in Ottawa that had at the high point 18 apartments in it. We rented them all. They were mostly condos. When I sold the mortgage company, my wife and I moved to Whitby, where I live today, which is on the east side of Toronto, and I started moving on in life. I was involved in the direct selling industry. I owned a publishing company for a while, but all the time I was doing that, I was building a real estate portfolio. I owned apartments here in Toronto. I owned a little strip mall. I owned a lot of rentals, and life was good. Back in 2017, I started buying cottages, and I got into short-term rentals, and it was an amazing experience. It was a year after I started taking short-term rentals really seriously that I was watching TV at home over a lunch hour one day, and I saw a news report that was happening in downtown Toronto. Now, at this news report, there was a presentation going on. The news channels were all on site at an apartment building development. There were two developments almost side by side, and the developers were there with the then Minister of Finance, Freeland. And the announcement that the federal government was making that day is that they were giving hundreds of millions of dollars. If memory serves, they gave those two developers each $250 million, $250 million. And Freeland's explanation as to why they were doing this was it was helping the housing crisis. And she went on to announce that they were giving the money to these two corporations to help them complete these two high-rise buildings. Now, something about that didn't sit right with me. In my experience in real estate developing, you typically get all the money arranged for major apartment building developments before you start. A lot of times CMHC is involved in this and the big banks are involved in this. But these two buildings that they were standing at were 90% complete. And this is the part I couldn't understand. Why were they giving money to two developers that had nearly completed the buildings? They already had all the money. I started thinking there was something else at play. There was something else going on. And it really amazed me because I feel I know enough about real estate. I've been doing it for 25 years that it didn't make sense. Nothing did. So she was saying this was going to help to solve the housing crisis. But if you think about it, these two companies were already building houses. They were already building apartments. They were already in the game. And they were already doing as much as they could. So if we have a housing crisis, and those two developers are always already doing as much as they can't build any more houses. How does giving them all that money help to build more houses, help to get rid of the housing crisis? I started thinking about, what's it really going to take? What's it going to take to build more houses, to get this country turned around, if you will, and get rid of this housing crisis? Well, if we just look at that fact, what is it going to take to build more houses? Think about it from this perspective. This is what I thought that day. There are real estate developers and real estate enthusiasts right across Canada that are building houses already. And frankly speaking, they're doing as much as they can, but there's still a problem. So doesn't that mean that one of the most important things that needs to be done to get more houses built is get more people building houses? I thought, man, if we're really going to put something in place here where we build more houses, we need to get more people into real estate investing. There's the key point. I started thinking about coaching. I had been in the coaching world on and off for about 20 years. I taught people how to get into direct selling and how to make money doing that. I also taught people how to use digital marketing to build small businesses. And I ran a coaching company in that space for about 7 years. But here I was this day, and I was thinking to myself, I thought back to what my mentor had taught me. And one of the very first things my mentor taught me is that if I wanted to succeed in real estate investing, there's 4 skills that I have to master. I have to figure out how to acquire properties at good deals, undervalue. Then I have to master the art of fundraising because you need money to do deals. If you want to do a lot of deals, you're going to need more money than you have. So you have to understand how capital markets work, how to raise capital. What are the legal, ethical, and conscious ways to raise money in this country following the rules? You have to master all that stuff. The next thing he explained to me coincides with part 1. He said step 3 is you have to master increasing the value of properties. Now, there's lots of ways to do that. In an easy scenario, if you're doing a house flip, you increase the value of the property by renovating the property. But if you're buying an apartment building, increasing the value, or if you're buying a commercial structure, or if you're buying a resort or a hotel, increasing the value comes from 2 things that happen in tandem. Number 1, you increase the value of the real estate. So you do renovations, you do increases, you do value increases. The second thing, and more importantly, once you increase the value of the property, you can charge more for the use of the property. You can charge guests more when they come to your hotel. You can charge more for your meal at the restaurant you own. You can charge people living in your apartment building more money because they're better units. And if you can master those 2 things, increasing the value of the properties and increasing the revenue the property makes, the value goes up the most. The last thing is the exit. He said you have to master the art of the exit. Exit means how you disposition the property. So if you're doing a house flip, you buy an undervalued property, you borrow all the money to do the project, you borrow the money to do the renovations, you increase the value, you sell the property, you give all the people that borrowed the money, you borrowed the money from, back their money, their interest, you make them good, and you keep the rest. If you underwrite the deal properly, so before you buy it, you figure everything out, you use mathematics and underwriting to make your decisions, then you should walk away at the end of that flip with cash in your bank account. That's the exit. Now, if you're doing something bigger like an apartment building, or building resorts like we're doing today, it's the same process. You find an undervalued resort, you figure out your whole financial model, you figure out where you're going to get the capital to build the resort, then you figure out how much it's going to be worth when it's open and stabilized, and then you refinance it. The exit is going to a bank with your new financials and the money you're making, and you ask them for a mortgage. And the mortgage has to be sufficient enough to pay everybody back, and it has to be something you can afford. Well, did you know you can figure out all of that in underwriting before you actually buy the property? And it works. So he told me I had to master those 4 skills. I mastered those 4 skills. I felt very comfortable with them. That's when I decided to get into real estate coaching. I started off teaching people how I was doing cottages, and it was going unbelievable. But then as that community started to grow, we got more than 1,000 students into our community. Every time we do any type of live event, they'd ask me the same question. How are you fundraising? Can you teach us more about fundraising? And that's where I realized I needed to do more. My main coach, the person I want to give all the credit to for teaching me how to run a coaching business and teaching me everything I know about digital marketing today, his name is Russell Brunson. Russell is an amazing American business owner who lives in Utah. I think he lives in Idaho now. Actually, yes, I think it's Idaho now. He's moved around a little bit. He owns a company called ClickFunnels, which is worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, Russell explained to me that when you start a coaching business, start off selling a product that's going to help people. And then when you start that community, when you're teaching them, you're going to listen carefully to them. You're going to hear them asking for advice. And when you find that a lot of people are asking for the same advice, that's the next product you should launch. That's when I had the idea to launch the Investors Growth Syndicate. The Investors Growth Syndicate is a mastermind community. And listen, if you're in real estate investing, if you're somebody who wants to build a real estate portfolio and you've been thinking about it for a long time, you've seen your friends and family buying properties, they get the money from somewhere, they've owned real estate. If you're one of those people, then listen up. Because if you haven't heard about the Investors Growth Syndicate to this point, I'm going to tell you what it's all about and explain why you should consider getting involved in it. This is one of the most unique real estate communities, training communities in this entire country. And I'll tell you why. And I wish I would have thought of doing this. I wish this would have been something that magically I thought about. It's something that just happened because of a need. When you take a look at most people that are trying to get into real estate investing, if I asked you, when you think about those 4 skills, what is the one you have the most trouble with? So the 4 skills are finding undervalued properties, learning how to raise capital, learning how to get the money you need to do it so you can get as much money as you want whenever you want. You can pay those people back. It all works well. Increasing the value of the properties and exiting. Which of those 4 things do you think you would need the most help perfecting or causes you the most trouble? I've asked that question to thousands of real estate investors and they all say the same thing, raising capital. So I thought, what if I build a mastermind community, a real estate community where new people can join and they will get all the help they need to get started and do it the right way and not make mistakes. But then also sophisticated real estate investors could join. And if they join, and they promise me they'll show up. We do 2 live Zoom calls a week on Sunday night at 8 o'clock and on Wednesday at 12 noon. If those sophisticated investors show up on those calls and they lend their advice, so they answer questions for people, then I'll help them. So basically, I went out to sophisticated real estate investors, people that are doing really well at this, that are successful. And I said, help me bring 10,000 new people into real estate investing. And if you do, I'll help you. I'll help you raise capital. I'll run your ads for you. I'll build your presentations for you. I'll put you in touch with my legal teams, with my exempt market dealers. I will help you raise all the money until all the money's raised and you've perfected it yourself. We launched this community 4 years ago. We have over 400 members. It's an amazing community. Now, it's not cheap to join. I wanted to charge enough for membership in this community that when people joined, they would take it seriously. And so it starts at $5,000. We have a $5,000 level, a $10,000 level, and even a $15,000 level. So you can decide where you want to start that is tailored to the help you think you need right now. When people join the Investors Growth Syndicate, listen to what's there. We built an unbelievable online academy. And inside of this members area, this password protected area, there are a number of real estate courses. The courses weren't just built by me. They were built by all those sophisticated real estate investors. We have a course on how to do multifamily real estate, how to do apartment buildings, how to buy apartment buildings with no money, how to take advantage of government programs, how to increase the value of the properties, how to fill them up, and how to make tens of thousands of dollars in income. That course was built by 3 real estate investors that between the 3 of them, they own $400 million in real estate. They're qualified experts in doing that stuff. We have a course on how to do short-term rentals, how to buy an old cottage, renovate it, double the value of it, get a bank loan so you can keep it forever, and make $5,000 to $10,000 a month in net income. Hey, let me ask you a question. How many of you would like to own a cottage that you can use whenever you want with your family? You can raise your kids at it. And when you're not using it, you do short-term rentals and you rent it and you make $5,000 a month in extra income in your pocket. I'm talking about $5,000 after taxes. Cash profit in your pocket every month. If you did that and you got a cottage and you started making $5,000 a month in income after all the expenses are paid, would you get another one of them? How many cottages would you need before you quit your job, right? So that's what we're doing. And we've got a course on how to flip houses. We've got a course on how to flip cottages. Of course, there's a course on how to raise money ethically and responsibly in Canada today. We have another course on how to do wholesaling. We're about to launch a course on development real estate. But here's the most important part about this. Remember why I started this community. I believe I'm going to help to eliminate the housing crisis forever. I believe if we can get 10,000 people to join and get into real estate investing, 500 to 1,000 of them, about 10% of them, are going to end up building houses. If we have 500 to 1,000 new people building houses in this country, don't you think there's a better chance of fixing the problem? So that's why I did it. When people join the Investors Growth Syndicate, here's what you get. You get a private members area with all those courses. You get to join a private Facebook group that all 450 people are in. Through the magic of my editing team, I'll get them to show that to you right now. We do 2 live Zoom calls a week. I'm on every one of those calls. Sunday at 8 o'clock and Wednesday at 12 noon. If you're a sophisticated real estate investor and you're having trouble raising capital, or you want to build a bigger portfolio and you're having trouble raising capital, join the Investors Growth Syndicate. I will help you. I will literally listen to what you're raising capital for, come up with the best strategy to do it. If you need to start a REIT or an MFT, I'll help you to do that. I'll introduce you to my people. If you need to get your offer in front of tons of people and you want to run ads, I'll run the ads for you. I'll build the presentation for you. I'll work with you every week until you raise all the money, and I'll make sure it's done ethically, the right way, following securities regulators' rules so you don't get yourself in trouble. And it just goes on and on. We run a major real estate event every year called the Real Estate Investors Mastermind. We have had tens of thousands of people come to our events. If you join the Investors Growth Syndicate, you get to come to those events for free. Tickets are $1,000 a piece, but you get your tickets for free. Why? Because that's why we're running the major event. And anything I do in my real estate development company to help my company do better, give that benefit to the syndicate. I'll give you one example. About 3 years ago, we started procuring the things we need for our projects from overseas. And we are saving significant amounts of money. We're opening a restaurant in Whitby, and we ordered all the kitchen equipment from the company in China that makes all the kitchen equipment for the largest kitchen equipment distributor in Canada. Because we did that, instead of paying $500,000 for the kitchen equipment, we're paying $40,000. So we've hired 2 full-time procurement people that work for our company, and all they do is procure things. We're opening a new retail store chain called Cottage Backyards. We're going to be selling Muskoka chairs and pergolas and outdoor furniture and barbecues and smokers, all our own brand. When somebody joins the syndicate, you get to use my procurement people. So if you want to start getting stuff from overseas to get better cost, my team will help you. It's all part of being a member in the Investors Growth Syndicate. And I'm going to put 2 links in the chat below this. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a link to a 45-minute video that I did where I explained everything I know about real estate investing, and I explained everything you get if you're interested in joining the Investors Growth Syndicate. So if I got you intrigued by this from this conversation, go watch that video. You owe it to yourself. Give yourself 45 minutes to watch that entire video to understand how we can help you. And if you get excited and you want to talk to somebody about joining our mastermind community, then on the page where I've got the video, there's a button where you can press, where you can book an appointment to talk to one of my onboarding experts. Friends, that's it. I'm so excited about this. We are long from our goal of 10,000 people. We get 20 to 30 people joining every month, and I want you to be the next person.